All right, guys, so we are live and recording. Remember that this video is sponsored by PrimeXBT. So if you want to keep watching these videos, you have to go to their website, sign up using my referral link. I will post it in Telegram, and also when I upload this to YouTube, I'm gonna share it, and you'll find the ref link. It's Theo Trader, all right? Okay, let's just start off with discussing a few aspects. To understand, the simplest form here for price action that I want to go through, and we sort of gone through this many times in previous streams, but it's just sort of the fractal nature of the markets, and you see Elliott Wave, Wyckoff, my mentor, and everybody else. We're sort of trying to explain the same thing, right? So usually this is a fractal of all time, right? So it's the same you will watch on a weekly, on a 1 minute, right? So price is compressing, creating a consolidation. Okay, this this can be a weekly 1 minute chart. Doesn't really matter at all, right? It's just sort of what you're watching, and away from the consolidation, price creates an expansion, right? So price expands. That expansion is what most people refer to as void, right? So void is the weakness in the move away from the consolidation, all right? Then after that move, price creates another consolidation, which we are trying to see if will be a distribution or a reaccumulation, right, to potentially take price further. And then at some point, right, when price reverses, you will see this fractal start to develop on the other side, right? And then price slowly gonna start breaking down. Once momentum has been shifted, usually price breaks down to where the move originated from, right? Where you see many people refer to point of origin or something, right? So it just comes back to where the move initiated from. Okay, so it's very simple price action. Now, what people are trying to explain with this, right, is sort of trying to predict the bottom and the top, or if it's a reaccumulation pattern. Price will always seek to the weaker side, right? So that the weaker side is where you will see people refer to as a range. So if price is sort of creating a consolidation, okay, people will talk about this as a range, and people are waiting for a sweep, reclaim, okay, and continue. What price does is that it goes to the weaker side, right? And this is a nature of the order book, where one side is weaker and it needs to pick up liquidity, right? Pick up liquidity means that orders wants to get filled, and usually, or price tends to seek that to the weaker side. Now, as far as for example, on Elliott Wave, you refer to this as 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, 5, right? Sort of the same nature. At some point within the structure where price expands, is that often it creates ascending triangles, right? Or which in Elliott Wave you can say that it's a wave 3. It's just that when price is pausing within an expansion, it usually just compressing, so it's stalling. It's at the same price region, and most of the time it then creates sort of a triangle, and price gets pushed to the upside. Once price breaks the previous high, price will then run thin again, right? As long as it takes for it to meet available orders in the order book, right? And then you will see the same again as price pauses. You can use this kind of a fractal behavior on as far as time goes, right? So this you can use this from month to month, quarter to quarter, year to year, minute to minute, hour to hour, 12-hour to 12-hour, daily chart. Day to day, New York Open, London Open. You can find the edge within that. And usually what you will see is that inside relevant trading hours of the asset you are watching, you will see price move and price compress, right? So for example, often you will see that FX pairs, they are compressing or retesting within the Asia or outside of importing trading hours, and that is basically due to liquidity being thin during those trading hours. All right, or if markets are waiting for data points, you can see price compressed liquidity coming out of the market. When the sessions opens, the relevant sessions, as for example New York Open, right, which is for equities, you will see price then trend and usually start to expand. So ahead of New York Open, right, before the market opens, liquidity is thin, and this especially relates to S&P 500 and often as well to Bitcoin. But Bitcoin or crypto is a bit different and more complex in this sense. But when there are important factors that moves the market and equity, that is moving equities, crypto will also follow. And usually those hours are often within New York Open. Okay. So now that we have sort of discussed the basis of how to approach trading and watch trading, okay, now let's go and take a look here. So what I want to discuss, I discussed this in the premium group as well. You know, if you want to sign up for that, it's on my profile on Twitter on Tappables if you're interested. But what we discussed the previous week is that we are watching sort of the FX pairs here on EURUSD, the pound, yen, USD CAD, okay, and how it correlates with equities, and then you're having sort of the correlation pairs where you're having yields and dollar, and then you're having gold, which is often moves opposites of yields, okay, and then you got oil just to see sort of what the markets are watching or if those are moving into any significant levels. All right, then you're having crypto, Bitcoin, right, on a few time frames and some altcoins, right? So we're trying to sort of use a correlation between these assets to see sort of if we are moving into a phase where price is getting exhausted or if you're going to see sort of price continue to push, right, which is sort of always the difficult part. Now, crypto has decoupled a lot the past weeks, and I really want to point this out. But for me, it's highly important due to that I was expecting crypto to not move in this fashion, and this was a lot based on traditional markets, okay, and yields. Now, in traditional markets, you can see how we actually just moved in towards these high time frame levels. You're having cash open, Nasdaq, S&P 500, and DJI, right? And you can see all of these on a daily. These are weekly and daily charts. So these are high time frames. So you can see how on all of these charts we are basically moved into some relevant levels, right? So from this high to that high, you can see how we went to the 70% probably, yeah, to the 70 and 80 within this swing, right? Retested or tried to retest the high of this consolidation capped by the weekly 100 EMA there on a weekly. This is Nasdaq, right? And on a daily basis, you can see that we expanded into the weakness of the previous top, okay? And we responded now, and we had a double top here, and now price is breaking down and filling in the weakness that we had on this last leg up, okay? Now, on S&P 500, we're seeing something similar now. We broke above some of these important EMAs on the weekly. We tried to retest, and we came into this important high, okay? And we failed to get too high of this, right? So we filled in the void there. This is the weekly. Let's go to daily chart just to point this out. So it's sort of very similar to what we saw on Nasdaq, okay? Lower high, price is selling off now, expanding, okay, releasing to the downside. They're filling in this last candle, and then we're having the 70 and 80 here, which is probably going to be very relevant for price as we move down. And we do have, you know, SR point, right? So we do have some levels of importance before we get that. This is a daily chart, right? So around 4K is a big figure, is slightly washed out, but we do have some EMAs there. Now we also have on DJI came up, retested. Let's take a fib on this. Just want to show you guys from the high to the bottom, straight to the 70% retracement there, lower high. Small body candles failing to drive higher. Now we're sort of releasing to the downside as well. Now we're releasing not as strongly as these other assets, okay, or these other ones, okay. So if you draw this correlation to crypto, you're seeing crypto is actually, or Bitcoin none the least, is actually expanding, okay, while the rest of these charts are actually moving lower. So they're extremely decoupled on a daily here, and in correlation we always come back, right? So we also sitting at this high. So it would be interesting to see here, you know, if Bitcoin is actually going to hold this level, or if you're going to start creating any kind of distribution pattern within this level. Okay. Now, at the same time, I want to show you the range, the yields here, the 10 yields on a weekly. Okay, so this is a weekly small body candle, price expanding. Okay, moving higher towards the forward pricing in higher rates. Okay, and you're also having the same sort of concept here for the dollar, getting capped by daily 200 and 100 EMA into this previous high, right? So this is a significant level. So usually it's very difficult to break above this, even though everything is being pushed by yields. Okay, so we could, or we cannot. Now on gold, we filled in this last extension, came into this prior consolidation, as you see. Okay, and we're sort of responding 100 EMA, 200 EMA on a daily. Okay, so we're sitting at very distinctive and important levels. All right, so now we sort of have a quick understanding, more or less, of these assets. We're having yen, which is sort of the weaker here, and you can see we're actually pushing above and trying sort of to flip these the EMAs, right? So yen being the weakest, this is going to be the strongest mover of these ones. So I'm expecting 140 in the near future. And we also have on Euro USD, we're sitting at some SR here, price getting exhausted. Potentially, you know, we can sell off in towards. I would really prefer us to move back down. So you can see you're having a difference here between the dollar, as we dollar actually close to hitting the daily 100 and 200 EMA, while Euro USD has some room left lower. Okay, and that's something to note. There's a difference at these two assets. Nonetheless, if price does expand into these highs, these will be a very strong sell point. Okay, this could be a decent scalp point. Now we're just consolidating on a daily. Okay. Now we're also having this on British pound. We came back down. We responded from the low. You're seeing on a daily we're having these EMAs compressing price. If we would to expand in trying to go to the 1780, that would be a decent sell. If not, we could start sort of creating a distribution already from this range, right? So this could be then a distributive pattern and then eventually break down and come back down. Okay, so that's something we're watching. Now, the correlation here that I want to express is that we're seeing that yields are pushing, okay, equities are suffering. Usually that correlates to weaker assets across crypto as well. But in this instance, it has sort of decoupled. I don't know how many. I haven't watched other people's videos. If anybody else is discussing this, might be boring for me to repeat it as well. But the issue here is that we're moving into these levels. So for me, I don't find any edge in chasing longs when I think eventually the better trade will be to the downside and closing in some of these inefficient runs, right? So basically what we have done is that we're having created a lot of inefficient runs and we haven't really responded to any important levels, right? So for me, this here was an extremely important level where we didn't respond at all. Then we had this void basically, or we're having an old high there, and then we're having this weak candle at that side. If you push that across, right, we created this distribution. We had a sell-off, but we expanded straight back up, okay? And now we are sitting above these two highs, right? So for people who are trend-based traders, they're watching this and trying to long it, right? So the way, that is not my edge. So the edge in this then will be, okay, so we still will continue to expand. As I mentioned in the first video, within a structure that is expanding, right? So you're having a consolidation, expansion, right? Then you're having price creating another range or accumulation, reaccumulation, price trying here to expand again. Okay, so what price is doing now again, right, is trying to create a small price like this, okay, and then break above it and start move higher, right, from a leg. This can be anything, right? It's the same. My point is that it's the fractal that you've seen within this trying to expand. It's the same fractal as you see prices trying to make at current levels. The way price here created a range to expand to the downside is the same price is trying to go to the upside. Okay, it's just levels and liquidity. Right? So just to make as many others have seen on Twitter as well, I agree that if you do continue, if you do continue to push price, I think the 30K level will be. Oh, sorry guys, it was my Siri on my phone thinking I was talking to her. Anyhow, so price could expand to 30K. Okay, that will be an important level and probably going to see a reaction. Now, I personally do not think we will do that unless equities are pushing the market. Okay, and then I think this is sort of the key level. We're probably going to see a lot of liquidity sitting within this wick and also this tiny consolidation on a daily if we do get a push. And I think that will be the reaction, so to speak, that we are potentially waiting for. Okay, as far as Bitcoin goes. Now on a lower time frame, I don't see anything at all. Right, for me, these are no signs of starting to break down already, right? We're still just doing, there is no break in structure, so to speak, right? So we had the opportunity within these levels, but when you had that last expansion, now we're just holding above that price. So you just need to wait for signs. So that is as far as charts on Bitcoin. You can take a look at the weekly here, so or 3-day or the weekly. I like the 3-day at the moment, but what I want to bring to attention as well, you're having the 200 EMA on a 3-day. On a weekly basis, you also have the 100. So you're having the 100 on a weekly and the 200 on a 3-day, okay, sitting at the 30K level, big figure. So that will be a massive reaction. I think we're just going to respond to this one. And it's also sort of a SR point in terms of the whole structure that we already created, right? So this is a massive level, right? So, for me, I think that would be sort of the ultimate sort of short, regardless of outcome. That should be decent, okay? So let's go and take a quick look at Ethereum, okay? So just basing everything we discussed now and just sort of repeating the same sort of structure. I don't like this as a bottoming structure. If this range on Ethereum is going to expand to the upside, next target is 3,000 or even higher. Okay, if this breaks to the upside, I think 2.4 minimum and then 3K. Just want to, right? So for me, I would rather see this. So on a weekly, we're holding above these EMAs, and then we're having the 100 within that structure. I'm going to discuss about this on a lower time frame very soon. Just want to point out some features here. So for me, the way I view this is that this is a consolidation. If this fails to break to the upside, either we're going to retest the lows, okay, at least back to 1,200, and then we also have sort of this level at 600. But we don't need to go that low, right? It doesn't really matter. It's the extension that matters, which means that if you want to draw this, right, create a high, price comes back down, creates a retest, whatever, okay, and then you're having that last nuke lower, and then price will go back up, right? Sort of that is really what I want to see within the chart. Now, if price doesn't do that, and this turns into a reaccumulation that's going to break to the upside, most likely, of course, that should be related to the equities. You would see something similar, price going back up, right? And then you can, often in these instances, I like to use, you can use just a fractal just to show you sort of potentially, how would that look like, right? Maybe it's just, that just doesn't look too good, but just want to, you get the point. No, it wouldn't look like that, but you get the point here, right? So for me, if price were to break to the upside, this will be a reaccumulation. Next target is going to be within these levels, right? But what I want to see now, I want to see price come back down and retest the range lows, and I think eventually, I think 800 and a retest towards 500 as well is possible. So if you go now to some of this lower time frame, let's check which one. Let's do daily first. Okay, so on a daily here, you can see that this is also holding. It looks very similar to sort of the structure on Bitcoin on the right side here, but on the left side we haven't moved a lot, right? So we don't have the structure here on Bitcoin. We only have it on Ethereum. Okay, so since Ethereum has been lagging, it's a bit easier to navigate with this structure. So the way I view this is that for my sort of edge would be that this here was a good short that failed, right? Or it failed. The first reaction that failed. So for me, when this fails and reaccumulates in this sort of pattern, this looks to me like a triangle, sorry, that want to break to the upside. If you remember the beginning of the video, this is a great example of that. Remember that? And we had this, and then price comes, seeks liquidity, and then pushes back up. Okay, you're having that going on. Now, usually when price sits at this and tests the highs, often you will see price expand, right? So I'm looking for price to expand here. You're having an old high there. There will be vulnerability, or sorry, it will be liquidity sitting within these levels often. And also you're having this void, right? So this is the top formation. You're having the candle here, which is a void, and I think 1,800 is a very good level. Usually Ethereum really loves those 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, etc. You will see that Ethereum really likes to drive to those levels. So 1,800 is a level I'm interested in. If you do get that expansion, that will be sort of a good shot. So if I'm trading now the daily, chasing price here doesn't make sense to me, right? I'm not scalping at the moment. If I was scalping, okay, you could then argue that if price now starting to reclaim, right? So if you're looking at a breakout pattern, if price starting to reclaim, right? So having a daily mark structure high, if price is starting to sit above 1,700, you will see, okay, so if this is the low, price reclaims or is starting to trade above 1,700, you can make an argument that we're going to take a run, right? And you can start taking some kind, so this one is the long, you can take some kind of a long, right, below the previous or the daily low, right, and then take an R towards some of these levels, right? So, but for me, I'm not interested in chasing that. I'd rather wait and be patient for my short setup. Okay, so that as far as Ethereum goes. For FTM, we're having a similar pattern. Let's go to the weekly. So on a weekly basis, we're just sitting here at the 100 EMA. Go to the daily. Okay, we do have some untapped liquidity a bit higher, but we reacted to this one, right? So we can react to that. So what you want to see within the structure, right, will be then that these highs will be something like this, right? And then break lower. You want to see these lower highs. So we should hold sort of these levels. In worst case, get a wick into that and then continue to sell off back towards those levels, right? So we have used liquidity sitting at the 1780 Now, on the other hand, if price goes into these levels, reclaims, and start trading above, you would see price then expand higher. You get that, right? So it's structure. There are two structures, right? So you're having structure within making this, okay? Now, the other one is that you're having the opposite, right? So you're having both. So if you form back down and price fails, and that becomes sort of the liquidity in price trying to expand. If liquidity has been used at those levels, you would see price run much higher, meaning that even if this level is what we want to get, if price drives into that and starting to push, then what this turns into a reaccumulation that can push to the upside, right? So you always have to sort of having that switch, on and on switch in terms of liquidity until you sort of meet high time frame walls on the chart, right? So high time frame walls, we can refer to, let's use an example. Let's go to the weekly, right? So we don't have too much structure. So a weekly wall that I would, in my opinion, right, will be if you go to 1.2 or even higher, right? So within the structure, this will sort of be the levels where I would confident, sort of look for swing sales, right? Especially if price has expanded into those levels. When you're trading within the levels we are at the moment, they're very different. They're very different. And as people are talking about this, with Twitter being this echo chamber, keep in mind that it will always be like that. Something you have to be used to. When price is moving up, people will celebrate, right? Those who are long are celebrating. Those who are bearish are celebrating when price is going down. That's always what it will be, and people will become more and more greedy. The higher, the more it goes, the more greedy they will get, right? And the lower price goes, the bears, the more greedy they will get. You will just sort of try to just be objective and just view it as it is. It's just a chart, right? And you're trying to get on the right side of where you believe price will go. If you're wrong, and you try again. It's it's like learning to drive a bicycle. If you fall down, you get back on the bicycle and you try again, right? It's sort of the same concept. And the only thing you can control is your risk. As long as your risk is controlled, right, and you're having some exposure, so you can have investment exposure. As if you've been following me for some time, we talked about these levels way back, right? Back a year ago, when price was around these levels, we were discussing FTM that price will come back to these levels, and it did, right? So if you wanted to have some exposure, you knew where to buy, right? The same goes for NIR, AVAX, all of these. So Ethereum, we discussed Binance coin. It's a strong one. We're still sitting at this level. I think it's just due to the FUD that has been out recently. The price actually haven't expanded. If it would, you would have seen the same here on AVAX. This is the level we discussed on AVAX previous week with the group. And you can see to the tick, right? Exactly. It's just levels of liquidity. Price runs into previous consolidations. This is a previous consolidation, this one, right? So price expanded through that. You're having that aggressive candle. Once it meets the wall right there, price responds and moves into the opposite side and filling in that one, right? And then at some point, depending on how price will be, in general, you can see whatever here, and then price might come back down. You can even get this back down. Sorry, maybe not that low, but you get the point. I mean towards to the low, back in here. If price goes back, I'm just trying to explain to you that price is random. It can do anything. It's that if price does this and then does this, you can buy at these levels because you would assume that this was a stop run and price is going higher, right? That's just the way you sort of have to view price. Everything depends, right? So if price moves lower, extends and starting to reaccumulate, you can get in at those levels and you're looking for the next expansion, right? Or you find another coin that does it or whatever. It doesn't matter. You get the point, all right? So this is just sort of the way you have to view price. Price is random and it's moving. You have to find the edge where you have an understanding of what it can potentially do next, right? Or else if you're an investor, you invest, you buy low, you sell high. You scale in, you dollar cost average into levels. You watch the daily and the weekly chart. You don't go to the 1 hour chart. You don't care about the 1 hour chart, right? So if you were dollar cost averaging on a weekly and you want to have exposure to Matic, you just put loads of orders lower. As it reaccumulates, you fill in if it comes back down, right? So you can take profit when it expands, and you can buy back in when it goes lower. That's the way to do it. But you have to stick to your to the weekly and to the daily and be patient. Now you can't watch the 1 hour and say you're an investor. What you're investing in here is just candlesticks on a 1 hour chart. You're just seeing a week of price action, right? So if you want a dollar cost average, you stick to the weekly and the daily chart, and you take out of the noise, right? If you're a level to level trader, you mark out your levels, and you move upon the reactions of price where you see your edge. Okay. So yeah, I need to go and pick up the kids. I'm gonna probably stop the video. I don't find anything else that I want to discuss. I want to take a look at Solana, see people are discussing this. Let's take this one before I end the video. Yeah, so for me, we can move higher, but for me, this is an extremely strong a short. Okay, I discussed this in previous streams as well. For me, we don't break out. I'm not a breakout trader. I think, we can move higher. I think, this is a decent, on a daily, the 200 EMA, this is going to be very good. So if you do get extension into this level, let's just give me a second. Yeah, this is perfect. Okay, so yeah, I actually have a fractal of this that I posted on Twitter or in the group. I can't remember. This is a good trade. It's a good short trade if you do get it. Right? This might even be the high, but the weakness here. Let's check the fib. Maybe it's the 1780. Yeah, you see that close to the 1780. I think this is a really good level. It's a bit large. It's a bit large, so you have to wait that the rest of the charts are working with you, right? So you're having the 200 EMA. And the 30, big figure 30, that's a decent level to potentially look for a short. If you're short term scalper, right, you can use the market opens, right? All right, so having expansion. If price moves lower, reclaims, right, you can take a stab at it. Now this is the low, so it doesn't really make sense. But if price comes back down and does something like that, no, that's too low. They won't do that. So this is the SR, this is the low. Yeah, I think in that case that will be the level. If you use a long, right? So just using your example, right? So price should hold those levels, right, and then take a stab towards 30, right? The way I would view price. For a scalp into those levels. But for me, I'd rather wait and see what kind of structure we can get. So people thought we were always breaking out, right? So before we had the nuke on FTX, people were thinking that we're going to break out, right? So patterns look the same. The outcome is different because price is indeed random, okay? So that's enough with this video. Remember, sponsored by PrimeXBT. If you want to keep these live streams coming publicly, use my ref link, TO Trader. Okay, so that's it, guys. Talk later. Peace out.